precious, you bitch.
As a man, you really can't afford to have any flaws in life. You gotta be fucking perfect. You gotta be like goddamn, like a superhero. You gotta be Superman. You gotta be Captain America. You gotta be godlike. You gotta be a hero. You gotta have a hero complex. You gotta come in and save a woman, your wife, your girlfriend. You gotta save your family. You gotta save everybody. But who the fuck is gonna save you? You gotta save yourself. I don't think a lot of people quite understand that. To be a man is to walk around and keep a smile on your face or a smirk, keep a poker face, and to act like nothing is bothering you. Nothing. You act like nothing's bothering you. You act like everything's okay. You act like everything's okay when nothing is okay. You feel what I'm saying? You gotta be a fucking deity. Godlike. A god amongst men. And I don't think, and I'm not saying this is an excuse, but I don't think a lot of women quite understand that. See, a woman could easily tell the world, I'm depressed. I'm going through this. I'm going through that. And then she'll have some people reaching out to her, telling her, hey, how's it going? I'm worried about you. I'm worried about what's going on in your life. I'm worried about what is bothering you. You feel what I'm saying? But with a man, if a dude comes out on his social media and he's like, look, I'm fucking drowning. I'm going through some shit right now. I'm going through a rough patch in my life right now. The majority of the people that watch it are gonna be like, oh, he's a bitch. He's a punk. He's not a real man. A real man would never complain about where he is. But you know what, man? I'm gonna be brutally honest with you. I've been a man a long time. I've been alive a long time. I've been alive almost 42 years. And I'm gonna tell you something. Walking around with a poker face most of my life and trying to stuff shit down is very destructive. Because what happens is, especially if you're a young man and you're listening to this, if you're destructive, stuffing shit down makes you more self-destructive. So in my 20s, I had a lot of pain. You know, I had a lot of things going on at home when I was in college. And, you know, I thought if I went 3,000 miles away, I flew, left the Bay Area where I grew up at, and I flew and went all the way over to Maryland. Nobody knows me. Well, I don't know anybody. My problems wouldn't follow me, but they did. You know what I mean? And I walked around with so much resentment, and I lashed out at people, and I had very low emotional intelligence, and I carried this weight, you know, of pretending like everything was okay when it was not. And it manifested itself. Like, if you looked at me, you could tell this is an angry dude, you know. It manifested itself in my health. You know, I went from 220 pounds in college to when I got out of college 2 years later, I was 260. You know, I drank a lot. I partied a lot. I tried to cover up so much shit by drinking, numbing myself, rather than dealing with shit head on. And in turn, all of that anger I had of pretending like everything was okay, realistically, was causing me to sabotage myself. It was self-sabotage. And it was painful, honestly. Like, I've kept a journal my entire life. I've had a journal since I was 6 years old. And I started journaling when the cartoon Doug first came out. When Doug first came out, I was like 6 years old, right? And he always wrote a journal at the end of every episode, right? And I remember watching that. And I remember watching Doogie Howser. Doogie Howser was a show on in the late 80s. And he used to journal, you know, on his computer and shit. So for me, I was like, shit, you know. I remember I had one, I think it was Bullwinkle's. Might have been Bullwinkle's. It was an arcade called Bullwinkle's when I was a kid. And I had one a little notebook. And I kept it at my dad's house. And I used to go to my dad's house once every 2 weeks or once every other weekend. And what I started to do was I would write, dear journal, this, and this. You know what I mean? And that manifested into me writing all the way through elementary and middle school and then high school. You know, I kept a spiral notebook in my backpack. And that manifested into college, where I started to blog. I had a blog in like 05. And then I started doing YouTube videos on Vimeo. And then it morphed into a podcast on Apple Music, iTunes, in the teens. And then now we have YouTube. So I've always journaled whatever progress or digression of my life. So that's pretty much been something I've always done. And I'll go back now and I still got all those old journals. I still got journals from when I was 6, 7. You know, my dad still got that Bullwinkle arcade notebook. And he showed it to me last time I seen him when I was back home in the Bay Area. And I was just like, damn, you know? And then I still have all those notebooks from high school, college, you know? The blog that I wrote in college from 2005 all the way up to like 2009, that's still online, you know? So if you search deep enough, you can find it. But I look at that and I look at like the journaling and everything, and I'm just like, especially in my 20s, post-college, I was a very angry dude, and I didn't know how to handle my grief. I had a lot of grief at the time, and my grief came from dealing with a lot of loss. You know, I had 2 major deaths happen back to back pretty much. When I was a young man, I had my uncle got killed by a drunk driver in 2009. And about 2 years before that, a cousin of mine that was only a year older than me got killed in the streets. So, you know, I'm young, I'm in college, and all I'm doing is drinking. And I didn't really quite know what depression was. I had never been to a therapist before. And even now, at 41, almost 42 years old, I have never talked to a therapist before. But I think some people seek therapy in different ways. I know for me, my therapy is this YouTube channel. And for years, it was podcasting and blogging and all different types of shit. My morning therapy is coming to the gym. I literally just left my gym and I was able to knock out a very intense workout. And I realized that as men, we don't really have a space where we can speak about what we're going through. We don't really have a space where we won't get ridiculed for speaking about what we're going through in life, because as a man, you gotta be fucking perfect. You gotta be fucking perfect. You gotta be a superhero. You gotta be Captain America in this motherfucker, man. You gotta be omnipresent. You know what I mean? You gotta be a deity. Like, you gotta be perfect. No flaws. And, you know, I'm gonna tell you this. If you're struggling with anything in your life right now, as a man, young man, old man, always remember this. The worst thing you can do is walk around and just let shit fester for years. And then you start to become self-destructive. Maybe you start drinking too much. Maybe you start to eat too much. Those are my 2 things. You know, beer, fucking hood Chinese, turf burritos, you feel me? Pizza, all that. That was my shit. I would get hammered and I would eat. And the next thing you know, I'm 340 fucking pounds. At my heaviest I was, you know? And now I'm fighting back to, you know, get this weight off and shit. And it's just like, no matter what's going on with you, man, you got to realize this. There are people that give a shit. And honestly, if you feel like you don't have nobody to talk to, I would literally suggest this. And I said this on one of my episodes on my podcast I had for a long time, Kevin Hates Hip Hop, which is on Spotify. I said that I believe everybody should keep an audio journal. You know, you might not want to write freehand or type or whatever, and that's fine, but you can record how you're feeling. On the iPhone app, there's an app called Journal, and you could just record what's going on with you in that day. And you ain't got to show nobody. Ain't nobody got to see that shit. That's for you and nobody else. That ain't for nobody else. Your journal is personal. You know what I'm saying? You ain't got to sit here and publish that shit on YouTube or nothing like that. But if you want to, you can. You can turn it into a podcast. You know? Put it on Instagram. Put it on your TikTok. You know, when I first started Kevin Hates Hip Hop in 2013, I didn't realize a lot of those episodes were going to help people. You know, I was just doing something that was helping me at the time. You know, I was coming of age. I was transitioning from my 20s into my 30s, and my business was failing at the time. And I needed an outlet. And that outlet was Kevin Hates Hip Hop, almost 8 years. And those episodes, I had episodes where I was completely depressed. Like completely depressed. Like I'm talking about my business. I had no money coming in. I lost everything. And I'm rebuilding my life. And that's why, like, a lot of those old episodes, I had people still DM me about them. And they'll be like, yo, can you do it again? And I'm like, nah, that was a painful time in my life, man. Like, a lot of that shit was painful, you know? You know, I tell them, like, yo, just check out the YouTube channel. Like, I'm doing different shit. Like, that was 13. I started that when I was 29. I'm 49 years old. Or 42 years old now. So, you know, you gotta change, gotta progress. But I'm gonna tell y'all this, man, end of the day. If you feel like nobody is tapped in to whatever you got going on, start journaling, start working out, man. Work out, journal, you know. And if you got friends that you can't tell, hey man, I'm going through this without them judging you, them ain't your real friends. You know what I'm saying? So what helped me is literally working out every day, this YouTube channel, journaling, and my other journal I have, my personal journal. And you ain't gotta be Superman, man. You can have flaws. It's okay. Quit walking around like everything is all right when it's not. You feel me?
The world's freshest youth.